Dave, what's on the menu today?
Well, here's the appetizer. Carl Springer, page 1. One unchanging factor in Luther's eventful life, beginning already in his early years as a pupil in Saxon schools, especially at the School of St. George in Eisenach, and continuing to the very end of his career as a professor at the University of Wittenberg, was his interest in Latin versification.
Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome, Ad Nauseam listeners, to episode 211 of the podcast. As always, my name is Dr. David C. Noe. I am down here in the bunker, the Vomitorium Parnassus Central, our final resting place, with my good friend and fabulous co-host, Dr. Jeffrey T. Winkle. How are you feeling, Jeff?
I'm feeling good. You know, this week in my religion class, I was talking about Lent and learning that Lent comes from the German word to mean to lengthen.
I didn't know that.
And that refers to the lengthening of the days and the
discomfort?
The discomfort? No,
of self-denial.
Well, no, it's spring is coming, so the days are getting longer. So
that's the connection.
It's the return of the light. And I've been noticing that when I leave my house very early to bring my children to school, and it was actually light out when I did it this morning.
That's incredible, isn't it?
I love that those moments when I notice, okay, finally the back of winter is starting to break a little bit.
That's right.
I like that. Yeah.
And we're going through quite a significant thaw here in West Michigan.
Yes, indeed. After a deep, deep freeze.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yep.
I see you are you're wearing there some kind of shirt, which I like. I mean, that fact. But it also says, I am GRCC.
That's right.
So tell us about your attire.
Well, this was a shirt that was given out to the entire faculty a couple of years ago. And it was meant to kind of...
They were all given one shirt?
We were all given one shirt.
And it's your turn to wear it.
It's my turn, exactly. So I got to get this in the laundry quick. We were all giving versions of this shirt.
Okay.
And it was a way to kind of boost morale.
I see.
Bring everybody together. And we were encouraged to teach wearing this T-shirt.
Nice.
Which I like. I mean,
so you're following through.
Yeah. I mean, there's no... GRCC, there's no real dress code. But there's kind of a self-imposed expectation that you dress more nicely than you usually would.
Of course, you got to look professional.
So I love kind of the option of this is sanctioned by the school president that, okay, I can wear this T-shirt.
But still informal is what you're saying.
Yes.
Got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if they gave you a blue blazer or a tweed jacket with leather patches, as long as it said I am GRCC, maybe on the flaps in the back, you'd wear it.
Of course I'd wear it.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for noticing.
You're welcome.
Right. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. Yes, I'm doing quite well. Enjoying this spring thaw, as you say. And breaking the back of the winter is a very apt metaphor.
Yeah.
So if we can just get to March 1, I tend to pin all my hopes on March 1.
Why is that?
Well, I'm not going to be complaining about the weather. I don't think I've done overly amount of that.
So you're going to avoid...
That's even English.
Avoid...
Don't say it.
All right, I'm going to say... Okay.
The word that begins with S and ends with March.
I will keep my mouth shut.
If we can get to March 1st, then I feel like I can endure until the real spring arrives.
Yeah. That is a threshold date.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a great fan of the cold weather, but tomorrow we jet off to the sunny climes of Florida.
Are you going down to see family?
That's correct.
Excellent.
And I'm going to enjoy that, take some books along to read. Speaking of books,
yes.
You like that segue?
Nice.
We have some books to give away.
Of course.
And we have the collected works of Aristotle, 2 volumes, lovely, a bright purple, because I think of Aristotle as maybe the king of philosophy, close second to Plato, very close.
Yeah.
And so we're going to give away another set, and in order to get your name into the drawing, Jeff, what does the dear listener need to do?
Well, they need to write to you, Dave. That's dave@adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V. And in the subject line, they need to put this word Kontos.
That's correct.
Kontos.
What in the world is Kontos?
Well, isn't he the editor or something?
Yes, he and CDC Reeve, this is Pavlos Kontos, edited these excellent volumes. I was perusing mine just the other night. So send that email to me, put that in the subject heading, and you can receive your own set if you win the drawing.
Do we have a date for the drawing?
Yes, I settled on that. March 12th.
March 12th. Okay.
March 12th, which is It's a Thursday, I think 4 Thursdays from today.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
I'd like to read a little bit of listener mail here.
Yeah.
And I didn't get this guy's permission, so I'm only going to give the first name.
Okay.
This is from Tony P. P is the first initial of his last name.
All right.
He says, in support of the idea that the picture of Socrates in the clouds is a loving caricature, and Tony sent us this entering the contest and also saying that he loves the clouds. But to continue, in the Phaedo, says Tony, Socrates talks about how before he was interested in ethical matters, he was interested in Anaxagoras and natural sciences. I think this listener made an excellent point.
Yeah.
He says, if you consider the story told in the Apology, it was only after the oracle that proclaimed him the wisest that Socrates started questioning people. What was he doing before that, asks Tony, such that people would think him wise in the first place, if not natural science?
That's really interesting.
That's a pretty good hypothesis,
So
isn't it?
in other words, saying that Socrates himself was a pre-Socratic. Right?
Wow.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
like Puxatawny Phil.
Right.
He
So-
went back in time and saw his own shadow.
I mean, that's really interesting. I mean, if I find that very, on the face of it, very persuasive.
I do too.
And that changes the perspective that the comedy is drawn from the ridiculousness of Socrates
Right.
doing these kinds of things, when in fact it could have been rooted in what he was doing early on.
A kernel of truth,
A kernel of truth.
if you will.
Yeah,
Like you find at the bottom of a bag of unpopped popcorn.
Right,
There's
under the couch cushions.
there you go.
Yeah.
There's a kernel of truth right there.
Right.
So thanks, Tony, for sending that in.
That's
I hope
great.
you didn't mind us reading it. We preserved your last name's anonymity. I'd be happy to tell the people later on that you had this keen insight.
Yeah.
And as I was telling a class yesterday, I was teaching a class on the Greek New Testament yesterday over the Zooms, and one of the students asked me about something in Luke chapter 3, I believe. It was quite insightful, and I trotted out my usual response to a difficult question, which is, undoubtedly, there's a dissertation on this very point, maybe 3 or 4, written by a German sometime between 1800 and 1870. Now, your job is to find it. So
I see. Yeah. So do you think they'll take you up on it?
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it. But Tony's comment here kind of goes in the same vein.
Yeah.
It's a really good observation and may well be true. I'm skeptical that no one has observed this before.
Right.
But that doesn't matter because
Right.
it's good to think the thoughts of great scholars after them.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
Nice job, Tony.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. That's great. So, Dave, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to move way ahead in the chronology of the world, leaving behind the 5th century, Aristophanes and comedy, and going all the way up into the 16th century.
Wow, so we're moving ahead 2,000 years in the future.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
And we're going to look at this wonderful volume by an excellent scholar, Carl P.E. Springer. So Carl Springer is a scholar of 16th century. He's a Lutheran scholar. He's at the University of Illinois, one of the campuses. I don't know which one, can't remember.
Yeah.
But in 2024, he published this volume in the Bloomsbury Neo-Latin series of early modern texts and anthologies, and the title is The Latin Verse of Martin Luther, Texts, Translations, and Commentary.
Excellent. Now, I have to imagine, I mean, this sounds like chronologically wise, subject wise, this is right in your wheelhouse. So have you encountered Springer elsewhere before?
We have not met.
Okay.
But and I hope to meet him soon.
Yeah.
Because he has quite a high profile as an accomplished translator and scholar who comes not from a seminary or something like that, but from a classics background.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
yes,
yeah,
like you and I.
Yeah.
But has made his mark in translating things related to Luther.
Okay.
So I'm trying to kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
With Calvin and Beza and Reformed guys.
Right.
And so many people have recommended him to me, and I hope to meet him in person soon. I've heard he's not just an excellent scholar, but a wonderful man. And reading his work, I have no doubt.
Fantastic. Well, I guess depending on how this episode goes, maybe we could get him on the show.
I think there's a high probability of that.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, Dave. Now, I have in front of me a review that actually you wrote of this book that we're talking about. Is that true?
That's correct.
Excellent. And is this an unpublished review? Is it coming out soon?
It's coming out soon.
Okay,
Yeah,
so is it okay to read it on the air?
Well, I think so.
Okay.
Right. Because
All right.
all it will do is generate, when we read parts of it, will generate more interest in the volume.
I hope so, yeah.
And perhaps some interest in the review. So I was contacted and asked, do you want to review this book? And I thought, free book on Martin Luther and Latin? Absolutely, I do.
So that's how this book came on your radar. It was
Exactly.
It was floated to you as hey, you're the man to review.
Well,
it.
I don't know that, but
Okay.
I am the man who did review it.
All right.
So it's coming out this spring at some point, and it's the Latin verse of Martin Luther. Actually, I just misstated the date. It's 2025, so this is hot off the presses.
This is hot off the press.
227 pages.
Yeah, excellent. Well, why don't I read a little bit of your review?
Okay.
Starting at the top.
That's a good entree, maybe, to the volume.
So Dave writes, the serious student of Luther's and the devotee of early modern Latin alike owe Professor Springer much gratitude for this concise and learned volume. Like all the humanists trained in the 16th century, Luther was taught to write Latin poetry as a child. The practice took, and his commitment to verse continued until his death. Thus, Luther produced Latin poems in various genres and topics. For the first time, Dr. Springer has assembled all of these different bits in one place and presented them to us with great learning and precision. All right, a couple of things.
Yes,
here.
please.
First of all, as someone who does not traffic in this era
Right.
very often, it was surprising to me to learn that Luther wrote Latin poetry for fun.
yeah.
It doesn't. I guess it doesn't surprise me that he did it. It surprised me that I had never heard of this.
Sure,
before, right?
sure. Well, you and I have very similar origin stories,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the lab, working late one night, exposed to extra gamma radiation, and then we both became classicists.
Yes.
The difference between us is I'm more of an opportunist.
Ah, okay.
Right? If I see an opportunity come up, I'd try to drive a truck through it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm in the 16th century happily,
Yeah.
but our training is really, really similar.
Yes.
And I think for Springer as well, I believe he is in the 16th century happily, but he was trained in classics.
Yeah.
Right. Like the individual Kirk Summers that we had
Yes.
on the show.
Yeah.
We know what you did last, Summers.
Yes.
Kirk is a purebred, thoroughbred classicist like you or I or Carl, but there's an opportunity in that century. So
Gotcha.
so that's where it went.
Gotcha.
But to your main point,
yes.
Luther and all these men learned to write Latin poetry. Some did it much better than others. Luther was a fine stylist. I don't think he ever achieved the heights of Melanchthon, and he certainly was not a poet like Beza, which is a fair point that Springer makes later in the volume.
Interesting. Yeah, so fascinating. And then my second question was, so you say that Springer for the first time has gathered all these bits and pieces together.
Correct.
Where were they? Like where would we find these things?
That's
separated?
a great question. It's a long story. So of course there's the collected works of Martin Luther. You can find all the abbreviations at the beginning of the volume, right? A lot of German. You got to know a lot of German. They're in letters. They are in 19th century editions where these letters have been assembled.
Mm-hmm.
They're bits and pieces here and there. And when you get to the back of this book, there is a section on spuria, right? That is poems of uncertain provenance. Did Luther really write these?
Gotcha.
And a great amount of disagreement. I think our audience, I can't say for sure, might find those poems less interesting, so we're not going to dwell on them today.
Right.
But in terms of scholarly precision, it's an important question.
Really, really interesting. Now, can you tell me, is Luther one of those authors where we more or less have today everything that's considered important that he wrote?
From my
beyond.
understanding, and I am not a scholar of Luther, I think over 95%.
So there's not like these great lost works of Luther?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, because even in his own lifetime, his importance was recognized.
Yeah.
And of course, he was born after the invention of the printing press.
Right. Very
so
important.
So the preservation of these materials is much easier
Yes.
than previously.
Yes.
Now, I know that you, Jeff, you want to jump right to the chapter on scatology.
Yeah, you know me too well.
You want to go right back to a kind of Aristophanic.
I'm still in Aristophanes mode.
Yeah,
I
time
suppose.
in the bathroom.
Right.
But, Luther wrote a wide variety of poems. And could you say maybe a little bit in that second paragraph here? I'm asking you to read something that I wrote.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's convenient in terms of giving the audience the scope of the book.
Absolutely. So again, back to Dave's review. The book is arranged in 7 chapters, starting with an introduction and then proceeding thematically. As you say, psalmody?
Psalmody.
Psalmody, is that the book? Okay,
That's,
okay,
yeah.
right,
So
okay.
just poems about the Psalms.
Psalms, okay. Virgiliana. And then number 3, invective, scatology, and satire.
That's where you want to rest.
Right. Number 4, martial. So it's writing poems in the style of Martial.
That's correct.
Right. And number 5, inscriptions and dedications. And 6, and faith and life.
That's right.
I think I mixed some of those numbers up, but if you
Yeah, so chapter 1 is introduction.
Yes.
Chapter 2 is psalmody, etc. Chapter 6, inscriptions and dedications. And chapter 7,
faith and life. Okay, all right. Good deal. 2 appendices containing poems of dubious authorship, like you just mentioned, close out the volume. This is an effort, says Springer, to rectify scholarly neglect. Quote, the Latin verses of Luther have been almost completely ignored over the years.
Yeah, and that's too bad, I would say, because if you study a man deeply, as many people do, they study Luther, right? Both his admirers and his opponents, right? They study Luther deeply because he was a watershed figure. Love him or hate him, changed the course of history. You want to have a good sense of what the man represents in his thinking. What is it? And I would suggest if you don't study his lighter moments, his poems, right, when he's just throwing off verses and kind of goofing around, you're not going to get the full picture of the man.
Sure. No, I agree with that. Now, this is more of kind of probably an end of episode question, but
you'll drop it right in here.
Right, yes, I'm gonna drop it right in here. Right. So you've read the book closely. You've reviewed it. So is your sense is that are these poems worth reading because Luther wrote them or because they're good?
That's an excellent question. I won't make you wait until the end of the episode.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of both.
All right.
Some of them, specifically one poem that he wrote on the death of his daughter, beautiful. Remember when we did the poem on Catullus 101?
Yes.
The farewell to his brother, Awe Atque Wale? Also beautiful. Perhaps the most beautiful poem of antiquity. I love that one.
Yeah.
Luther wrote a poem of tremendous beauty, a very short set of elegiac couplets that's very similar to the one of Catullus and no doubt inspired by it.
Yeah.
So I would say that one, yes. The scatological poem, if you like that kind of humor, you're already starting to laugh. Yes.
Right.
A couple times where he zings Erasmus and where he zings the Pope.
Yeah.
Those are also very interesting. Some of the others, I wouldn't necessarily read them if I weren't interested in Luther.
Yeah.
But that's how it is, right? Isn't it Marshall who says some poems are bad, some poems are good, most are average?
Yeah.
No book has ever been produced in any other way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Good deal.
That doesn't apply to this podcast.
Of course not.
Every episode is equally wonderful.
Wonderful and worth
Are we agreed?
your close attention. Exactly. Right. Let's jump in.
All right.
So let's go to chapter 2 on psalmody.
Okay.
And Dave, why don't you read some of Luther's Latin?
Excellent. So this is the first poem. The title is De Pastor Deo, God my Shepherd, and it's 2 couplets, 4 lines. Ipsa Deus pastor me assest nel de fici et me, laetis me fecit, pascer gra minibus. Quaeque sitim se dant ad aquas de duxit amoinas, hinc redeunt virres, artibus atque vigor.
Now, what meter is that?
So the first line is a hexameter.
That's what I recognize.
Right?
What's
the second line is a pentameter.
Okay.
A double hemiepes. So 2.5 feet, strong break, laetis me fecit, and then another 2.5 feet, pascere gra minibus.
Gotcha.
And this scans really well. This is good. It's not, I don't think it's quite as flexible or fluid as Ovid, but nobody is.
Right.
I mean, it's really good.
Excellent. Well, let me read the translation. So this is Springer's translation, right?
That's right.
He does all the translating here as well. So, God himself is my shepherd. I shall lack nothing. He has made me feed in lush pastures, and he has led me to pleasant waters which quench my thirst. Hence, strength and energy return to my limbs.
Right.
Very nice. Now, as I'm reading this, I'm wondering, how does his Latin compare to like the standard Latin version of Psalm 23?
Yes,
right?
so there are some words that are clearly derived from that, like pastor, Deus pastor meus est, fecit. The editions that I'm familiar with are the Vulgate and Calvin's translation. I don't believe graminibus appears in either of those. I'd have to double check. But he has taken some artistic license, of course, when he says ad aquas amoinas. So beside pleasant waters, right, it's flowing waters or gently flowing waters in the Psalm version. But of course, this is an artistic reinterpretation, especially the 4th line. You read, hence strength and energy return to my limbs. Well, that's an interpretation of Psalm 23. It is not a translation.
Right.
And I think it's great. I think it's a lovely poem.
Right. Now, do you know if he was this just for his own personal edification, or was he sending these to people? Or?
So, I don't know about this particular one. That's in the commentary, which comes next.
Yeah.
Many of these were written at specific occasions. Some of the poems were just spontaneously composed when he was at table with other young men and scholars and so forth.
Yeah.
You just throw off a line, throw off a couple verses.
Yeah.
Work them out later. The particular circumstances of the composition of this one It can be securely dated, says Springer. Luther's verse paraphrase of Psalm 23, verses 1 through 2 and 6 can be securely dated. It is included in a letter written on 13 March 1537 by Melanchthon to Spalatin. In the letter, sent from Grimma, Melanchthon reports on Luther's recovery from a severe illness and says that Luther had composed this poem the day before as he began to sleep better and was eating more. On the 13th of March, Luther was feeling hilarior, quite jolly, and dictated these verses to Melanchthon.
Huh.
Melanchthon concludes the letter to Spalatin by suggesting that this epigram, quote, however short it may be, nonetheless aptly captures the point of the psalm. So you've got Melanchthon, fantastic scholar, writing to a third friend, Spalatin, right?
Yeah.
And saying, Luther did it, right? This poem, very short, it's verses 1, 2, and 6 of Psalm 23, captures the essence of the psalm.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's something. Just reading that commentary is great. It's something that as someone who is in the scholarship that I have done or that I'm interested in is much earlier than this.
Right.
One thing I am very envious of is when you can pinpoint it to a day.
Oh yeah,
I love that kind of precision. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep.
How about another poem?
Okay, shall we go to the second poem in the collection? It is also 2 elegiac couplets. So this is the meter of the Amores. This is the meter Catullus used, Martial used. And I'll read the 2 couplets, and then maybe you can read the translation, please.
Yes.
So the title is Non mordriar sed vivam, right? I shall not die but live. Non moriar sed vi viscerdro vi usque manebo, et nardrabo mei, facta stupenda dei. Sel vivam, sel non vivam tamen undique vivam. Vita me est Christus, quid mihi mors noceat.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
And Springer's translation, I shall not die but live, and keep on living, and tell the story of my God's stunning deeds. Whether I live or don't live, I still shall be alive in every respect. Christ is my life, so how may death hurt me?
Yeah. Nice.
That's nice. Is there some commentary on this
Sure.
as well? Yeah.
So Springer says, this is page 27 of the volume, this is a paragraph in elegiac distichs of a single psalm verse. Non moriar sed vivam et nardrabo opera domini, Psalm 118:17, numbered Psalm 117 in the Vulgate. It was one of Luther's favorites. He is supposed to have written the psalm verse on the wall of his study. Is that the kind of thing that you do, Jeff? Like take out a favorite line from Apuleius,
Yeah.
write the Metamorphoses, and just vandalize your office wall?
I do it mostly in bathroom stalls.
Okay.
But the same idea, yeah.
That would explain all of those quotes from Apuleius on Calvin's campus.
That's right, exactly. That's why I got fired.
Yeah. In October of the same year, Luther sent, so this was during his stay in Coburg in 1530. That's when he wrote this. In October of the same year, Luther sent a letter to Ludwig Senfel, a Swiss-born composer based in the court of the Duke of Bavaria, a popular composer of the time and a friend of Luther, requesting that he set a different psalm verse to music. Senfel responded with a motet based on the Vulgate's text of this psalm verse. The motet survives, but we have no musical setting of Luther's Latin quatrain.
So, yeah, I mean, I know that about Luther, too, in terms of like song composition. Of course, the most famous one is A Mighty Fortress,
That's right. Ein feste Burg.
So, was that another one of his
many talents?
His side gigs?
Yes.
He composed music as well?
That's right. He's truly a Renaissance man.
Man, that is fascinating.
That's right. Shall we go on to the next chapter, chapter 3, which is Virgiliana.
Yeah. I have one more question before we move on. So that first poem, I think, was dated 1533. Second one, 1530. 37. So just to kind of frame this in Luther's life and career. So the Reformation is in full fiery swing by this point, right?
He was born in 1483, died in 1546. So he lived 63 years. He started in 17, taking a public posture with respect to reform.
Yes.
So now by 1537, that's 20 years later.
Yeah.
And he's gone through a lot of hardship since then. He has translated the Bible into German. He's gone through the very productive phase when he wrote the Babylonian Captivity and other works, which I think was around 1521.
Yeah.
I'm dredging up my memory here. He's gone through some conflict with Zwingli, like at the Marburg Colloquy in 1529. And he's getting closer to the end of his life.
Is he still kind of like persona non grata as far as
but he's being protected by the Protestant princes. So his life is not really in danger, by this point.
Yeah.
He's looking at trying to secure the things that he has accomplished. And he's going back and forth with some, sorrow and regret about certain things. Still very antagonistic toward the Swiss Reformed. Karlstadt, one of his personal enemies.
Yeah.
He's having a lot of trouble.
Gotcha. Very, very interesting. But yes, let's move on to the next chapter, Virgiliana.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. So can you set us up for this section?
Sure. So chapter 3, a little bit of the introduction here that Springer gives us. Of all the ancient Latin poets whose works have cast long shadows on subsequent literary history, none was more consequential than Publius Virgilius Maro. Of all the Latin poets with whom Luther was familiar, it was Virgil whose works he most admired and to whom he was most personally indebted.
Again, I had never heard that before, but I love it. Yeah.
There is a long tradition, this is the next page, page 36, stretching from the youthful Augustine, who wept as a schoolboy in North Africa for Dido, to T.S. Eliot, the 20th century Anglo-American poet, who positioned Virgil uniquely at the very heart of European civilization, within which Luther's appropriation of his poetry should be situated. That Luther would have read Virgil as part of his early instruction in Grammatica as a schoolboy is not remarkable. More remarkable is the fact that this young friar-to-be in his early 20s would have chosen the poetry of Virgil to take with him, along with Plautus, when he entered the Augustinian monastery in Erfurt, instead of the sort of edifying Christian literature that one might have expected a monastic initiate to be reading in his spare time. Most remarkable of all is the fact that even after 20 years had passed, Luther should still have remembered that of all of his books, it was only Virgil and Plautus that he took with him into the monastery, and that he should have made a point of mentioning this fact to those assembled around his table.
Huh. That's really interesting. Now, the Plautus...
Does that surprise you?
The Plautus doesn't surprise me. The Virgil does.
Okay.
But, I mean...
Why doesn't Plautus surprise you?
Because, I mean, my thin knowledge about who Luther was
Sure.
as a man... I knew that he had a very earthy sense of humor.
Yes.
And so the fact that he would enjoy Roman comedy,
right.
that tracks.
That's right. Yeah. It tracks. And also Plautus was a master of good Latinity. A lot of archaisms, but some of his phrases are phenomenal. And he was much read for his Latin.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
A little bit more before we get on to the actual poems. This is Springer on 37. Not only did Luther refer approvingly to the poet Virgil himself throughout the course of his life, but he also frequently quoted from his works. In 1537, Luther recited to those assembled around his table some verses from the 4th book of the Aeneid, and suggested that Virgil's poem would have been even more moving and tragic if it had been written later during the times of the Caesars. The poet would have needed 48 books instead of 12 to relate all the events that happened after the Roman Republic was replaced by the Empire.
Wow, that's a good point.
So in 1537, he was 54. Because he was born in 1483.
Mm-hmm.
He's still talking about Virgil around the table. He's podcasting. There you go.
And this is a lifelong love.
Correct.
Yep.
And isn't it interesting that he's in book 4?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Death of Dido.
Death of Dido, the same passage that moved Augustine so
That's
much,
right. And like Ovid said, everybody reads book 4, right? Aeneas in the bed of Dido and throws the rest away.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's read a poem. You want to do the first one there?
Yes. So this is entitled Adversus armatum virum coclaeum. And Jeff, that means...
That means against the armed man, coclaeus.
That's right.
All right.
So this is written in hexameters. So it's not only inspired by Virgil, but it's imitating Virgil. So there are, 7 lines here. Just hold up your hand when you've had enough. Arma virumque cano mogani qui nuper aboris. Leucordream fatos taladus saxo naquavenet. Litor multil et furdris vexatis et oistro, vi scelerum memorem rasordrum cladis abirdram, multa coquet satana passusco perderdret urbem, inferdret quemalum studi is genes unde malordrum, erdrodrumque patres at qualti glordria papae.
Wonderful.
He gets the Pope in there.
He does. And the words that are jumping out at me, of course, are the direct tags to the opening lines of the Aeneid.
Yeah, there are
right?
so many.
There are. And like with the Psalm 23 thing, it's you can recognize it as kind of directly taken from the Psalm, but then also he's doing his own thing.
Absolutely.
So once again, he's up to the same trick. Yeah.
Before you read the translation, as a student of these things, as we both are, this is one of the most satisfying phenomena when reading. So you're reading something by, to me at least, you're reading something by a great author, Luther, accomplished, and you recognize his reference to someone else.
Yes.
That's satisfying.
There is something about getting the illusion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like you pointed out in the third line, litora multilet,
Yeah.
that's directly inferretque malum in the sixth line. It's all so much just from Virgil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Springer's translation. I sing about arms and the man who recently came from the banks of the Main River to Wittenberg, to the Saxon shores, made stupid by fate, greatly afflicted by both the furies and the frenzy caused by his wicked deeds on account of his unrelenting anger at the demise of the shaved ones.
The monks.
The monks, okay.
Because they have the tonsure
Right,
on
there.
the top.
Gotcha.
He calls them the shaved ones.
The shaved ones. Satan also made him suffer a great deal. He has come to ruin the city and to corrupt the study of literature. From him we have the generation of evils, from him the fathers of errors, and from him the exalted Pope's glory. So who is he going after here?
He's going after this guy Cocleus.
Yes, who is this?
Okay, so we have to look ahead a couple pages, Winkle. Come on.
All right.
Page 42, commentary. Even though, says Springer, Luther appreciated the heroic gravitas of Virgil, he did not himself ever write a heroic epic poem, Virgilian or otherwise. What we do have from his pen is a satirical parody of the 7 famous opening lines of the Aeneid, written in dactylic hexameters. It begins with 3 of the most familiar words in the corpus of ancient Latin poetry, arma verdumque cano.
Indeed.
But its new frame of reference has nothing to do with weapons or warfare, and has everything to do with theological controversy. Luther's Virgilian poem is directed against one of his most persistent opponents, Johann Cocleus, a scholastic humanist who was ordained to the priesthood in Rome, and who later served as secretary to Duke George of Albertine, Saxony. Although Cocleus had at first been sympathetic with Luther and the Reformation movement, he eventually grew disaffected and openly hostile, writing often about and against Luther. He is best known for his unappreciative biography of Luther, published in Mainz shortly after Luther's death. During the course of the Diet of Worms, 1521, Luther had declined an invitation to meet with Cocleus. This refusal was interpreted as a snub by Cocleus, and in 1522 he penned a treatise attacking Luther's views on the sacraments, to which he appended the phrase, Virdos arma decent. Arms are fitting for men. This phrase, echoing the first 2 words of the Aeneid, must surely have represented a kind of challenge for Luther that was hard to ignore. Cocleus's words imply that a real man would have taken up verbal arms at Worms and agreed to meet with him. To the many other works that Cocleus directed against Luther over the years, the reformer seldom, if ever, responded. This time, however, he did.
Oh man, it's getting heated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of kind of the East Coast West Coast rap battles of the mid 1990s.
I think everything transfers exactly.
So this is Tupac versus
That's right.
Biggie. Right?
Something like that. Biggie Smalls.
Yeah. Man.
So this one stands at the beginning of his 1523 Latin treatise entitled Ad versus armatum virdum Cocleum.
Yeah.
The poem itself has no other title assigned specifically to it.
Very interesting.
You like that?
I love it.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
How about this one against Erasmus?
Yes, this 2-liner here. Okay. Yeah.
So, qui satanam non edit amet to a carmine rasma, atque demjungat furias et mulgeat orcum.
And this translates, anyone who doesn't hate Satan should love your songs, Erasmus. Man, pulls no punches, does he? The same person should also try yoking the Furies and milking Orcus.
Yeah.
Okay, so first a question.
You need me to explain the joke?
I need you explain a few things. So Erasmus, a contemporary of Luther?
Yeah, remember we did an episode.
I know, but
Dr. Amphibolus,
my chronology,
I presume.
I know who Erasmus is, but
right.
I don't know if he's attacking his ideas that were earlier, but he's a contemporary.
Yeah, so Erasmus is quite a bit older than Luther, and the old saw is Erasmus laid the egg that Luther hatched. And early on, Erasmus was calling for the reform of the church, and then Luther came along, and a lot of people expected that Erasmus would join the reform movement, but he did not. And many reformers were quite upset because they thought Erasmus was insincere and opportunistic. And so Luther called him Dr. Amphibolus, right? Mr. Slippery Eel.
That's right.
And so they went back and forth a lot, specifically over the treatise on the freedom of the will, or the bondage of the will, I should say.
So Luther's main problem with Erasmus was the one that the other reformers had, is that he did not come along for the ride.
Right. Well, early on, he laid the groundwork for so much of the reform.
Yeah.
But he always remained faithful to Rome, and of course, he can do what he wants freely. They felt a sense of betrayal because Erasmus had a lot of close friends like John Ecolampadius, a very famous humanist in Basel, a close friend, and Ecolampadius became a reformer. And Erasmus, his opponent said, "You're just holding out because you want the money. You don't want to give up the easy life, the patronage of everyone who's supporting you. You don't want to take the risks."
Gotcha.
And Erasmus would say, "No, I want to reform the church, not ruin it."
Okay.
And that was the counter jab.
Gotcha. So Erasmus, by the end of his life, he never came fully on board with it.
No,
Gotcha.
definitely not. And he died in 1536, I believe.
Okay.
So Luther outlived him by 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they had quite the rap battle.
Yes, indeed.
So what does it mean to yoke the Furies and milk Orcus?
Yoking the Furies, I mean, like an impossible... Well, both those sound like impossible tasks, right?
Yeah.
But yoking the Furies, milking Orcus sounds just gross.
Yeah. So it's the underworld, right?
Right.
Getting something nutritive out of the underworld.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't hate Satan should love your songs, Erasmus. Yeah. Then the next poem I don't think we're going to read because it is macaronic. That is, it's a mix of Latin and German, every other line. So one line of Latin, amor vincit omnia, and 3 lines of German, 1 line of Latin, another line of German, back and forth like this.
That is wild. Yeah. Yeah, you want to leave that? You leave that to the
audience. Tease the audience.
The audience can go look that up themselves.
That's right.
Gotcha.
They can buy the book. I'm sure Carl would be very happy with that.
Okay. Shall we move on to invective, scatology, and satire then?
You can't wait, can you?
I can't.
So this is chapter 4. You want a little bit of an introduction to the thing as a whole?
Please.
Okay. Page 50 says Springer, many of Luther's Latin poems, like his prose writings in Latin and German, are laced with extremely harsh insults. He attacks his adversaries with remarkable verbal energy, often managing somehow to sound angry and gleeful at the same time. This kind of insulting poetry is by no means unique to Luther. Using Latin verse to write invective has a long literary background. Luther was thoroughly acquainted with Latin poets such as Juvenal, Martial, and Catullus, whose works were filled with so much obscenity and mockery that he insisted adamantly that they not be read by schoolboys. It was the sexual content of such poetry to which Luther objected in particular, not its occasional scatology. He would not have minded in the least, one suspects, Catullus's reference to the kakata charta, the dunged up pages.
Yeah.
But Springer gives a more, blue rendition of a contemporary of one of his. One of the poems included in this chapter is a scatological tour de force. Luther may well have enjoyed potty humor, but his own scatology should be understood as more than simple vulgarity intended to outrage pious sensitivities. As Heiko Obermann has observed, Luther's scatology was, quote, an expression of the painful battle fought body and soul against the adversary who threatens both flesh and spirit. When the devil complained that something Luther had done was improper, the monk responded to him with the following verses: Purga meum ventrem et colo de omnipotentem, tibi quad infra deo omnipotenti quad supra. I am cleaning out my intestines while I worship Almighty God. To you I give what is below, to Almighty God what is above. So we're back to Aristophanes.
We are.
Yeah.
Right back in it. Yeah.
We're right back in it.
So pick a poem. Which one would you like to cover here, Dave?
Oh, let's read some elegiac couplets here against Clement VII.
Okay.
Number 4.
Mm-hmm.
We can skip over the one by Erasmus.
Okay.
All right, so let me see. How many lines? 6 lines. I'll read the Latin, and then maybe you can read the translation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cum malatot nostram vexente principe Romam, dilivium caedes, flamma rapina lues, non ego Clementem te nec Clementia dicam, numina sed furdriam te furdriasque Deos, ergo tuum no mensi vis me dicer dicam, diluvies Romae, flamma rapina lues.
All right. So I'm assuming that Clement VII was the current pope when he wrote this.
Yes, Springer offers some really helpful information here on page 60. This poem, consisting of 3 elegiac distichs, was first discovered written in Luther's hand in 1832. Luther's poem attacks Clement VII, a Florentine Medici who served as pope from 1523 to 1534. Clement was the cousin of Leo X and papal successor of Adrian VI. Clement is blamed for the recent problems the city of Rome has been experiencing, many of them connected with the devastating sack of Rome in 1527. This was only indirectly the fault of Clement, who had nearly lost his life when the imperial troops of Charles V ravaged the city. As Luther describes Clement in the first line, he is the princeps of Rome. As such, the Roman Pope bears ultimate responsibility for all that happens in the city of Rome. The last three words of this line are the same as in Horace's compliment to Augustus in letter 2:1-56.
Okay.
So even as he is slamming Clement VII, Luther is quoting from Horace.
Horace. Right.
You're going to read the translation? We've put it off long enough.
Yes. Since so many evils are afflicting our Rome under your leadership, flood, slaughter, fire, rapine, and plague, I would have to say that you are not Clement, and neither are your deities. No, you are a fury, and your gods are furies. So I'll call you by your proper name with your permission. You are Rome's flood, fire, rapine, and plague. Wow. That hurts, man.
Yeah. So now we come, Jeff, to the one that you have been waiting for.
Okay.
Which is in this chapter on invective, scatology, and satire,
All
chapter
right.
4.
All right.
It's poem number 7 in the collection, which is entitled Dysenteria Lutheri in Merda Poetam Lemken.
Right. So if the Merity didn't give it away.
Right.
Right. So Springer translates this title as Luther's Dysentery against the poop poet Little Lemnius.
And I suggest that, I imagine you're substituting something there.
Yeah, so just to keep the broadcast family friendly.
That's right. But it's a good translation, which Springer gives. So I'll read just a few lines maybe, and then you can read the translation.
Sure.
Quam bene conveni unt tibir resit carmina lemken, merda tibir resest, carmina merda tibi. Dignus erat lemken merdosus carmina merdae. Nam vatem merdae, nil nisi merda decet. Infe lix princeps quem laudas carmina merdae. Merdosum merda, quem facis ipsa tua. Ventrurges merdam velesque cacardra lebenter. Ingen tim facis at, merda poeta nihil. At merdatis si digna tuiste poinus equatur. There's one more coming up. Tu miserum corvis, merda cadaver eris.
Very nicely done. There's a merda in almost every line.
Yeah, in some lines there's multiple instances. Merd is the Dutch word for dung, as it turns out.
Yes.
Okay, so what do we have here?
Yes, your poetry and your subject matter suit you so perfectly, Little Lemnius. Your subject matter is poop. Your poems are poop. Little Poopy Lemnius was just the right person to write a poop poem, because nothing other than poop suits a poet of poop. How unfortunate the prince whom you praise with a poop poem. You yourself make him poopy with your poop. You try to squeeze poop from your bowels. You really want to take a poop, a huge one, but you produce nothing, you poet of poop. But if you receive a punishment befitting your just deserts, you yourself will be poop, a pathetic corpse for the crows. That's unbelievable.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Now, I have to know. I mean, do we know who this Lemnius is?
Yeah, let me read again
All right.
a little bit.
And why did Luther hate him so much?
Well, why not? All right. Despite the fact that Luther's name in the genitive, says Springer, page 63, is incorporated in the title of this poem, suggesting that we are meant to take him as the author, it is not included in some collections of his Latin poetry.
Oh.
Schmidt discreetly bases his decision to pass over it on the grounds that this scatological poem mocking Simon Lemnius is, quote, less tasteful than others. Lemnius had been a promising student at the University of Wittenberg and a protege of Melanchthon. In the spring of 1538, however, Lemnius wrote some Latin epigrams which he dedicated to Albrecht, Archbishop of Mainz and Magdeburg, who was not exactly a friend of Luther's Reformation. Since he had also insulted prominent members of the Wittenberg community in these poems, Luther threatened legal action. Lemnius fled the city and returned to Switzerland, where he took up a position as a teacher of Latin at the Nikolaischule in Trier. In September of 1538, he retaliated from a distance, producing even more epigrams, this time attacking Luther and other reformers in Wittenberg directly. This poem is a response to one of these poems, Epigram 63, in which Lemnius mocked problems that Luther was constantly having with his bowel movements, suffering from chronic constipation and diarrhea.
Oh my goodness, it's so absurd, but
yeah.
yeah.
It's just true to form. So
Yeah.
Lemnius is first the protege of Melanchthon, Luther's right-hand man, friend, a close buddy. Then he goes off and goes back to Rome and writes these very flattering poems to various Roman Catholic figures, to try to get patronage.
Yeah.
And then he starts attacking people in Wittenberg, and he starts making fun of Luther's troubles with diarrhea.
Man.
And so
Lemnius was an opportunist.
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm on Luther's side in this.
Right.
But then Luther shoots back, right, and he just lets rip this this incredible poem.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of poopy poems,
Yes.
it's time for the ads. This episode of Ad Nauseam is brought to you by Hackett Publishing. We love these guys, and I think they love us. So they're fond of us.
I think so too.
They took a chance on us at the very, very beginning, over 5 years ago.
Yeah,
now.
we are their main organ for podcast advertising.
That's right. And they're what a great company. They keep the flame of classics alive. And there are many things I love about Hackett, but
Right.
I'm going to say my three favorite things.
Okay.
Attractive product, wonderful the wonderful artwork. Secondly, erudite translations and great scholarship. And third, very affordable. And it's really hard find all those three things in one package.
Absolutely. Did you assign any Hackett texts for your students this semester?
Absolutely. I always, in my mythology classes, assign them the Stanley Lombardo translation of the Odyssey, which my students, they push back like another textbook to
Right.
buy. And then they discover that they can get this for under $10. And it's just it's a great work of scholarship. It's attractive, and my students are really happy with it.
Absolutely. So, listener, if you want to do three things, perhaps in this order, you want to build your library, you want to get free shipping and 20% off your first order.
Yep.
And in the third place, you want to support this podcast, which provides you, we hope, some entertainment and a little bit of instruction. Then go to hackettpublishing.com, Hackett publishing.com, and check out their wide selection of products, their books and volumes. Put them in your grocery basket, and at the checkout, put in this coupon code
AN2026.
and you will score those things. Please check it out. This episode is also brought to you by the good folks at Ratio Coffee, says Nick Whitaker at the website Works in Progress. In the U.S., almost every coffee shop serves drip coffee. It's made from a machine similar to the ones many Americans have at home. You put a filter paper full of coffee grounds in, the machine dispenses hot water over it, and a pot is filled with coffee. There are many ways of brewing coffee, though. One is especially elegant, technical, and ritualistic, the hand-brewed pour-over. In the last 20 years, pour-over has become a symbol of quality and craft in coffee.
Yes, indeed.
Jeff, when is the first time you had a pour-over coffee?
It was a friend's house. And
Okay.
I remember being very impressed with the whole process, but it also looked extremely complicated and time-consuming.
Yes, it was elegant, technical, and ritualistic.
Yeah.
How has our friend Mark Helweg solved this problem?
Well, he has created these wonderful machines. You got the Ratio 4, you got the 6, then you got the flagship, which is Ratio 8. And he has included pour-over technology in a one-touch button package. Yeah.
So you push the button. That takes you from the bloom stage.
That's right.
Where all of the carbon dioxide is off-gassed into the biosphere.
That's right.
Then you go into the
brew stage.
the brew stage, and
Yeah.
you have to watch it closely at every step, right, with extensive measurements and so forth.
Not at all. The machine does all the work for you.
I could make an omelet, fry some bacon, and so on, and come back, and at that point, my Ratio 4 is in the ready stage.
The ready stage. That's all there is to it.
And then we pour it off, and it's delicious.
It is delicious. So, hey, listener, if you want to get one of these wonderful machines, the 4, the 6, or the 8, do yourself a favor. Go to ratiocoffee.com. That's RATIO coffee.com/ad nauseum. And Dave, that will get them what?
$20 off any machine.
Fantastic.
Now, the Ratio 4 is quite affordable. And the other model's a little more expensive, but it all depends on how long you intend to drink and enjoy coffee. If you amortize it over a few years, you got a solid investment in one of the most delightful parts of the day.
Fantastic. Dave, are you ready for art that speaks to your own story?
I am very ready.
Okay, then what are you going to do about it?
I am going to go to dellachelpka.art, DELLACHELPKA you can spell art, and I'm going to browse her gallery. Della captures the people, the places, the moments you cherish with breathtaking detail. One of the moments I cherish is eating my eggs in the morning. And so I have a lovely painting that Della has composed, called Sunny Side Up. It's an egg. And I get the sense of the photorealism almost, but I get the real character of the egg that I'm about to consume, because that's what a portrait does. It captures that.
Indeed. So if our listeners go to dellachelpka.art, and if they find something they would love to have on their walls, they can put this coupon code in, Apelles.
Apelles.
Yes, and that will get them, what's the...
It's 10% off. That's your special ad nauseum discount. So you're sitting in your study, you're reading something from Hackett, maybe the Aristotle, maybe you're reading one of Lombardo's translations, you're drinking some delicious coffee from Ratio, and there on the wall in front of you is a lovely painting from our friend Della. Apelles. Check it out. Jeff, as we resume, we are now in the chapter on Martial. We've left behind the scatology. We're in chapter 5. Martial, the famous Roman poet, he was an early contemporary, maybe of Juvenal, at the end of the Caesarian period. Mm-hmm. And the first one here in this chapter is called Sarcasmus in Epicurum, so a sarcastic piece against Epicurus.
Okay.
And this is written in hendecasyllabics, which is each line has 11 beats. So I'm not going to read the whole poem. It is, I think, 18 lines altogether. I'll read just a few lines, maybe the first 3, and then, Jeff, you can give us the translation. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. Vitam quae faciunt suis beatam, porcis haec Epicurus ille tradet, ne specte samanum dei vementem, like so.
Yes, and Springer translates, as to what makes life happy for his pigs, that old Epicurus teaches the following. Do not take into consideration the mind of men or God. There is nobody who governs and cares for the world. Go ahead and have a good laugh at the hope of a future life, although thought and sound reason demonstrate its existence. Imagine that you were created for yourself alone, sure that all things were brought into being for your stomach. So I imagine that Epicurus and his teachings had some currency in Luther's day, and he was kind of,
sure.
Yeah.
But he's always been a whipping boy for everyone who holds to a doctrinal position, right?
Right.
Lucretius is going at this in some of our early episodes, right? The whole enchilada and
that's right.
up in atoms and so forth.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, Epicurus, I'm trying to forget. I forget like his theological sense, but deeply skeptical about the God's interest in humanity.
Correct.
Right?
They exist, but they're made up of very fine gossamer-like God atoms.
Yeah.
Why would they care about us?
That's it.
If you were super powerful, you'd be off having godlike friendships, reading godlike literature, eating godlike food. Why would you care about what the little ants are doing?
Right.
You and me.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you read some more of the translation? And then we have some really helpful commentary from Springer.
Sure. He goes on. Take pleasure in wine and prefer nothing more. Live like your sow and live like your pig. And finally die as a pig and a sow. This is how they make their way to the blessed isles. Those for whom a prison awaits burning with everlasting fire, where pigs as such as these are cooked and roasted. Then you may prefer not to have lived, Epicurus, but these complaints will arrive too late, and you will learn that what you laughed at here is something far different than an empty divinity. So, I mean, a screed against a kind of crass materialism.
That's right.
Yeah.
So says Springer on page 80. One reason for Luther's attacks on Epicurus here and elsewhere may have been the fact that he himself was accused of following the kind of gross hedonism popularly associated with Epicureanism, especially after he was released from his monastic vows and married an ex-nun, that'd be Katharina von Bora. Indeed, the mature Luther was quite open to the proper enjoyment of music, dance, alcoholic beverages, and sex, wine, women, and song. In addition, the calm acceptance of the most serious issues of life and death espoused in Epicurean thought can be seen as sharing some commonalities with what could be called Lutheran quietism. This said, Epicurus's ideal of avoiding everything that might disturb one's atoms, such as falling in love or getting caught up in political affairs, did not fit well with Luther's insistence on the value of work, the sanctity of marriage, and the necessity of civic engagement. Epicurus advocated the avoidance of pain, while Luther never tired of expressing his appreciation for the value of affliction, tentatio. Finally, it is impossible to reconcile the Epicurean idea that there is no life after this one with traditional Christian beliefs, shared by Luther, and the reality of everlasting life, heaven, and hell. Even as Luther engages with the ideas of the Hellenistic philosopher and his early modern followers, Luther uses this poem to distance himself decisively from them.
Very interesting.
So that's really all quite helpful.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to be accused because he has broken his monastic vows,
Right.
renounced them, married a woman, had many children, enjoys drinking beer, enjoys singing, enjoys eating bread. These are not things in keeping with his monastic vow.
Right.
And he's going to be accused of hedonism.
Yeah.
Here's where he fires back.
Yeah. Very, very, very interesting.
So on to the next chapter,
Yep.
Inscriptions and Dedications, chapter 6. And this is the one we mentioned very early in the episode. And it's an epitaph composed by a father in agony.
Right. Let's hear some Latin.
Okay. Dormio cum sanctis hic Magdalena Lutheri, filiet hoc strato, tecta quiesco meo, filia mortis erdram peccati semina nata, sanguina sed vivo, Christa redempta tuo.
Which reads, I, Magdalena, daughter of Luther, sleep here with the saints, and I rest covered in this bed of mine. I was the daughter of death, born of the seed of sin, but I live redeemed by your blood, Christ. So that's really interesting. So he takes on the persona of his daughter in
Right.
the poem. Yeah.
Just like the many tombstones, the
Right.
many markers we have seen in Greece and Rome.
That speak to you.
That's right.
Yep.
Enthadakemai, here I lie, right? This is what I'm doing. Here I lie.
Yeah.
It's such a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I think it is similar in quality to the Catullin poem 101. Let me read just a little bit, please, here from Springer on page 100, which gives us the context. This 4-line epitaph was written in connection with the death of Luther's teenage daughter Magdalena. She died when she was 14, in September of 1542. That Luther was deeply moved by his daughter's untimely demise we may gather from such remarks as the following, included in contemporary Tischreden. He says, quote, I am joyful in the spirit, but I am very sad according to the flesh. The flesh doesn't take kindly to this. It is the separation that troubles one beyond measure. It's amazing to know that she is certainly at peace and well off there, very well off, and yet to grieve so. The Latin verses were translated into German multiple times by poets other than Luther.
I wonder if he also had in mind Cicero, losing his daughter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
As a kind of a model of grief.
Of course,
Yeah.
Tullia, right? And the famous consolation is lost.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh, man, that is hard. Man, just in this short time, what a gamut
Yeah.
these poems run, right?
Oh, yeah.
All
Right.
over
A
the place.
huge poopy screed against Lemkin.
Yeah.
And now this really beautiful, beautiful 2 couplets about the death of his 14-year-old daughter.
Yeah, truly a Renaissance man.
Quite moving.
Yeah.
Now we move on, and we get right to the end of the collection, Chapter 7, Faith and Life. Maybe we can just read, 1 or 2 from this and then wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
We can read 2 that are a little bit incongruous.
Okay.
One on a very high theme. This is number 4, entitled Biblia Sacra. And then we'll look at number 18, and we'll save that title for just a minute.
All right.
Okay, so this goes like this. It's another elegiac couplet. Si tibi vel Christi vel cur rest ulla salutis, where centur manibus, Biblia Sacra tuis. And you can give us the translation, Jeff?
Yes, Springer translates, if you have any concern at all about Christ or your salvation, turn the Holy Bible over and over in your hands.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Pithy, right?
Very pithy.
Pithy, right to the point. And of course, poetry is much more memorable than prose. Let's just be honest.
That's right. Exactly.
I could push a button right on your I am GRCC t-shirt, and you could let loose with, I don't know how many thousands of words of pop songs.
Absolutely.
With all of the lyrics memorized.
Yeah.
And why is it so easy to memorize them? Because it's music.
It's music. It's rhythm.
It's poetry.
Fantastic.
That's right. Something about Roxanne, you don't have to stop at the stoplight. How does that go?
She apparently has impunity when driving through the town, right?
You don't have to turn on the red light?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes. Put on the red light.
Put on the red light.
Yeah.
And that's from the Australian band Air Supply?
That would be from the English band, The Police. Yeah.
Oh, but wasn't Sting from Australia?
No, he was.
Have we been over this?
He's an Englander. Yes.
Okay, but you know all the lyrics to that song.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when you put things to meter, they're memorable.
Absolutely.
So what is number 18 that we're going to read, the incongruous one?
Yes, it's entitled Cassius, or cheese.
Nice.
Right. So let me do some Latin here.
Absolutely.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So non argus largus non Methuselah Magdalena non Habacuc Lazarus Cassius iste bonus.
Ah, nice.
Panis habens oculos non servans Cassius ulos. And Springer translates, not Argus or rich, not Methuselah or Mary Magdalene, not Habakkuk or Lazarus. That's good cheese. Bread should have holes. Cheese should have none. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, he's talking about figures from Scripture, right?
Yeah.
Methuselah, Habakkuk, Mary Magdalene, and so forth.
And they're saying they're good cheese?
No, he's saying these are important themes, but I'm going to talk about something less significant. I think that's what he means.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about the difference between cheese and bread.
Okay.
Bread should have holes.
Yes.
Cheese, none.
So he would have had a huge problem with the Swiss here.
Well, he had a problem with the Swiss generally,
Right,
theologically.
and it extended to cheese.
But he didn't like their cheese either. And that seems like a good place to end.
Yes.
I'm sure you can find the wonderful Carl Springer's book on Luther and his Latin verse at fine booksellers everywhere.
Yes.
And Jeff, why do we have to get out of here?
Well, I hear some Lemkenites
I think
are
so.
out there.
I think the USSC also
What
is
was that?
banging at the door.
Who was that?
The United States Scatology Corps.
Oh, they didn't like this?
They
or
didn't like this.
Man, why is
You think they would go for this,
You
but
would.
they have high standards.
They're so touchy.
I
Yeah.
ran into one of our listeners this week. You're going to
Uh-huh.
love this, Jeff.
Okay.
Nice young man. Perhaps at some point he'll go for a shout out, but maybe not after I say this. He said, I have 2 questions for you, Dr. Noe.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Lay it on me. One was a Greek-related question. Okay. And then he said, I listened to the podcast. So that's a good start. He said, did you really meet Lou Graham from Foreigner? When you went into the glove store and you asked him, you told him you want to know what glove is. I said, no, I did not meet Lou Graham from Foreigner. This is completely made up. It was for the sake of the stupid pun. Glad you enjoyed it.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
So we got to get out of here, Jeff, but we have to do a little bit of housekeeping before we sign off.
We do. So if our listeners, Dave, are interested in learning some Greek or Latin, you can help them.
I can.
Tell them how.
They need to go to latinperdiem.com. Check out my Greek programs, my Latin programs. The Greek program takes you from...
neophyte to erudite.
That's correct. It's called Moss Method. And if you want to study Latin so you can learn how to read elegiac couplets, hendecasyllabics, dactylic hexameters, and so forth like Luther, or even write your own, you're going to want to take my LLPSI Latin course, which takes you ab initio, from the ground up. If you enter this coupon code 10plus, 10PLUS, you'll get 10% off anything on the site. Jeff, we need to thank some people.
Yes, Mishka, our wonderful engineer, turns this around so quickly and makes us sound so good.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff...
Can I just say one thing about dear
Yeah.
Mishka? So I was listening to the one we recorded at MJCL at MSU, and someone said to me, she got that done already? It's just a couple days ago. I said, you've underestimated Mishka.
She's the master.
She can do it.
Yeah.
We need to thank Jeff Sheets.
Jeff Sheets, he's the great guitarist that you hear at the beginning and the end, the intro and the outro, the bumper music for the ads. Man, this guy can shred.
That's right.
Love
Thrill Seeker and Rush Hour. You can check out his music at jeffsheets.com. There's a Z on the end. Some lovely compositions. I like one of his songs, Wicked, Wicked Ways. He also does nice covers and some beautiful instrumental stuff. Thank you, Jeff, for your generosity.
Yeah. And hey, listeners, if you want a shout out, you got a question, you got a comment, don't hesitate to write us. You can write to Dave at adnauseum.com. Don't forget the V in there.
Or write to Jeff at adnauseum.com. There is a V not in Jeff, but in nauseum.
That's right.
ADNAVSEAM. Tell us what you're thinking. And next week, Jeff, I think is a solid TBD, if I'm not mistaken.
TBD, maybe we'll go back to Maru or maybe one of those.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We will Maru the day.
Yes.
And then 213 is going to be on Alexis de Tocqueville. Can liberal arts survive in a democracy? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out. And Dave, I believe you have our gustatory parting shot.
I do. This is from one Chuck Dickens. Do you know Chuck?
I do not.
Charlie.
Yeah. Okay.
19th century novelist extraordinaire whose novels were serialized, and so he was paid by the word.
Oh, man, that's why they're so long.
Well, I love him anyway. So this is from A Christmas Carol, in which Scrooge is dismissing a supposed ghost as indigestion.
Okay.
Happens to me all the time.
All the time.
Is that a ghost? No, I'm about
Could
ready.
use some Pepto.
I'm about ready to write a Lutheran poem. And says Scrooge, you may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you.
Fantastic. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.